Part in the rioting and looting has been the subject of some controversy, with claims that the magistrates have been told to dish out tough sentences.
Well, today in Manchester, the first Crown Court cases were heard, and the judge, Andrew Gilbert QC, explained exactly why he believed those who'd taken part in mob violence should be dealt with more severely than if the offences had been committed in isolation. Well, our chief reporter, Dave Guest, joins us now from Manchester Crown Court. Dave.
Yes, Ranveer, and if the magistrates' courts had wanted to be seen to be getting tough on the rioters, well, Judge Gilbert was not in any mood for going soft on them today. He said that the acts that they had admitted committing couldn't just be looked at as individual acts, they had to be judged against that backdrop of mayhem that broke out in Manchester and Salford last week. He went on to say to the four defendants before him in the dock here, those who choose to take part in activities of this type must understand that they do so at their peril. I have no doubt at all the principal purpose is that the courts should show that outbursts of criminal behaviour like this will be and must be met with sentences longer than they would be if the offences have been committed in isolation. Now, no doubt his words will come as some comfort to the victims who lost property, businesses, even homes in those disturbances. I've been to meet one of those victims today. This is what's left of the internet cafe Raz Satwilka spent years building up. A lot left in here now.
Nothing. There's still everything.
But the mob didn't stop at ruining his business. They rampaged upstairs and set fire to the flat where Raz, his wife and 5 children lived.
This is a living room.
And everything's gone?
Everything is gone.
What was over here?
There was a computer, kid's computer, and there was a laptop, kid's laptop. They took a kid's laptop and they burned the computers. And there was a deck. Everything is gone.
So, having completely ransacked your business, they've then come up here and deliberately set fire to your home?
Yeah.
What do you think about people who could do something like that to you?
Like animal people, they can't, like a human life can't do that.
What sort of punishment do you think they should get for doing that?
They should go to jail, never come back again.
His sense of anger at all this and his desire for justice is understandable. The police and the courts have been keen to ensure people such as Raz get justice. Hundreds of arrests have been made, dozens have already been processed by the courts. Today, the first 4 to face a Crown Court judge appeared in Manchester Crown Court for sentence. This woman's 14-year-old son is currently locked up waiting to learn his fate after admitting burglary during the disturbances in Manchester. She has no doubt he must be punished.
I fully support the fact that he's on remand at the moment because he did something wrong and he's accepted that himself. I have tried everything since he was very, very small to keep him on the straight and narrow, and he's very vulnerable to the suggestion of other people as well.
She feels that she and the rest of the family are also being punished for events that were outside of their control.
It's the fact that I could be evicted.
You could lose your home.
Yeah, I could, and I've got a 1-year-old son as well, and it's scary.
But with memories of all this still raw, the need for justice to be done and to be seen to be done will be paramount. Well, let me tell you a bit more about those 4 people who appeared here at Manchester Crown Court today. Stephen Carter is 26 now. He admitted picking up some bags of clothes that had been stolen from a city centre store. He was given 18 months in prison. David Bezic, who's 31, he found a TV in the street, he said. He picked it up. That got him an 18-month prison sentence. Michael Gillespie Doyle, he's 18. He looted a city centre supermarket and he was given 2 years in a young offenders institution. Meanwhile, Linda Boyd, she's 31, a heroin addict and alcoholic. The judge said she had made some efforts to try and ditch those addictions, and she'd found herself caught up in the riots unwittingly. She got 10 months suspended for 2 years. That was for, again, taking up a bag of loot. Now, elsewhere in Chester, 2 men have appeared in court today charged with inciting riots via the internet. Jordan Blackshaw from Northwich and Perry Sutcliffe Keenan from Warrington. Those 2 got 4-year sentences each. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Dave Guest there. So, 7 days on from the riots, what's the impact been on businesses? Are shoppers staying away from the worst hit areas, or are they defying the criminals and reclaiming their streets?
Dozens of stores at Salford Shopping City were attacked by looters. 5 are still too badly damaged to reopen. Stuart Pollard has been back to speak to some of those affected.
No stock means no income for Wayne and Stephen. They spent 6 years building this business up. It took rioters a matter of minutes to destroy it. It'll take £60,000 and 4 weeks of hard work before they can reopen.
Will we get the old trade back, or how much business we actually lose by this? And that's the scary thing, really.
I don't think we're frightened of it happening again. The big fear is trying to get the public back into the shop.
That's not a problem for Nasser Iqbal. Business is booming because on the other side of the precinct, one of his competitors had his shop destroyed.
He's picked up a hell of a lot, which is, on one hand, is good for business, but on the other hand, it's sad to see it happen this way. You know, my heart goes out to the other gentleman whose business was affected.
Today, is it picking up, you think, a little bit?
The man in charge of the centre says visitor numbers are on the rise.
The first couple of days, we have to admit they were obviously lower, but as of yesterday, it seems to be back to normal. Slowly but surely, we're getting back to some form of normality.
Has what happened put you off coming here at all then?
No. Why should it?
Well, normally I would look around and I'd go to TJ Uses and what have you, you know, but it's just the atmosphere, it's just awful.
A week after we saw the worst elements of this community, here's the best, a group of young army cadets giving up their time to improve facilities and improve the look of this shopping centre.
We want to show people that we're not all that bad, teenagers and that. I mean, there's just a small minority that are.
Yeah, it's really good. Near enough all of it's been done, so I'm quite proud, yeah.
Despite the best efforts of these volunteers, it'll take more than a lick of paint to erase the memories of what happened here. But bosses insist the fight back has started and the fortunes of this centre will improve. Stuart Pollitt, BBC North West Tonight, Salford.
Well, joining me now is Nazir Afzal, who is the Chief Crown Prosecutor for the North West. First of all, let me ask you whether you are comfortable with the speed in which these cases are being rushed through the courts, and whether there can be proper preparation and assessment of these cases.
But they weren't rushed. These are unprecedented times. What we saw last week was unprecedented, and so our response has to be unprecedented. I've made sure that all my prosecutors apply the code, make sure there's enough evidence, and bring the cases to court that need to be brought to court, and when they're brought to court, to robustly prosecute those cases.
But you're saying not rushed?
Not rushed. Swift justice, swift, is absolutely essential as far as I'm concerned, because of what we saw last week. You've just heard a little bit about that. People were really shocked, and they need to see that their confidence in justice has been restored, and we want to help by bringing these cases into court.
But some of those accused are saying it is for them all too fast and too bewildering, and they're not really getting a chance to prepare themselves, which is their right.
That's not true. Those people will undoubtedly have legal representation when they appear in court. As you know, we had overnight courts running in Greater Manchester. We've had legal advice being given to them. They've been given the evidence against them, and then they've entered their pleas of guilty. The people who were sentenced today all pleaded guilty. They accepted their guilt on the basis of their evidence. They had counsel representing them in court today. The judge had all the information about them before the court and sentenced accordingly.
Well, the law, as I'm sure you'd agree, should be calm and considered and free of emotion. Are you convinced that it is, or that there's been a bit of a knee-jerk reaction here to issue a big deterrent to other people with tougher sentences than that would normally be?
Deterrence has always been allowed as far as sentencing is concerned. The judge made it very clear today that context is all important. What we had last week was the worst disturbances that we've encountered in decades. And it was important for us in criminal justice to be able to demonstrate that we recognise what happened last week, and those who were responsible pay the consequences of their actions. I don't think that anything that was obviously, sentencing is a matter for the judge, but I don't think any decision made by the judge today could be criticised. He made it very clear that the context was really important.
So it's right then that a person, for instance, there was a young mother who slept through the riots but received one pair of shorts the next day from a friend and was jailed 4 or 5 months for that. That sentence, one would imagine, would not have been anything like that had it been a week before the riots. Is it right that it should be so much harsher because of what happened?
Absolutely. Without handlers, there aren't any thieves. I think that was the point made by the magistrate in that particular case. Whoever has property that was stolen on the night, whoever was involved in the damage that happened on the night, needs to be aware that the sentences they're going to get are going to fit the crime because of the impact that it had on the communities of Manchester, Salford and Liverpool and everywhere else that was affected that night.
Nazir Afzal, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.